Next one, because I just see the time. Kendra's listing. Kendra has a house that's 500,000. Average days on the market is 30. We're at 45. It's a shiny penny home. Quartz, blue-gray walls, stainless steel, the shenanigans. 1-year-old HVAC and water heater. 2-year-old roof. The market, though, is slowing. It's on a slowing trend. Seller needs a 2-month rent back, and there's 2 offers that somehow came in because of her great looking for a buyer, prospecting for a buyer. Here's the first offer. $495, 3% subsidy, full home inspection, regular financing and appraisal, 30-day close, 1 month free rent back, and a $2,000 flat fee for the second month. Second offer, $480 cash, full home inspection, 15-day close, but they can only do a 1 month rent back. Or we just continue on the market.
Continue on the market.
Dang, love deep with the fastball.
I mean, the seller needs 2-month rent back. The first one, they're asking for nearly $15K subsidy. And
he's getting angry about that. How dare they ask for subsidy?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And, if we can counter, I would take a bunch of these things off and be like, and then, let us see. Let's go. Let's negotiate.
So is it possible? Is there one that's worth the counter? Because this one you can counter. Let's say the 480 cash cannot do more than a month rent back.
Yeah, then I would counter the FHA one.
What would you counter in that one? What if they say my client needs 3%?
Then counter at least the rent back, make that free, and then if they need 3%, get over to the home inspection.
Get aggressive, brother.
Yeah, get rid of the home inspection. Get and then take that 2,000 flat fee away and make that 2 months free rent back.
What if the buyers, they just say, well, my buyer just asked me, why are you removing the full home inspection? They're a little skeptical about that.
I mean, everything's new. 1-year-old HVAC, 2-year-old roof. What's gonna come up?
Well, 1,000%. Buyer says they don't feel comfortable removing the home inspection.
No, let's get back in the market and continue showing.
So market trend is slowing though.
Hmm.
Is it better to try to work with something out of these two?
Yeah, like I said, I would talk to the 495 agent nicely, and then be firm in your stance and see what's their best offer.
What else? What do you guys think?
For the cash offer, I would look to see if whatever it is, the carrying cost, right? For the 500, say the carrying cost might not be but 2,500. They can come up another 2,500 on the cash. Done.
So it may be worth it if the money makes sense to not go to just do a 1 month. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, and I'm saying like you could do the cash offer. Like say if they could come, say carrying cost the mortgage on the 500 is maybe it's $2,500 a month. Then if that 480 can be 483, right? Then it's done. 483. That takes care of your extra month, that extra cash.
So they would. So in terms of them, they would need to figure out that whatever they need to do logistically would make sense if money makes sense, if money talks, right?
So yeah, right. They would get the money on the back end. They figure it out on the front end, even if it's it's tend to say hotel, but you got it coming on the back end. It's built into.
Is it possible then a good offer will make look? If you give me an offer that good, then it may make sense. I'll figure it out in this market. In this case, what do you guys think? What else? Chase Thomas. Should we go back on the market? Is that
To be honest with you, I would probably. So you said you can counter.
yes. Yes.
You can counter the 495. You can't counter the 480.
You can counter both, except for the 1 month rent back they won't do, and they won't change the home inspection. I'm the buyer, let's say.
All right. Then I'd probably counter the 495, but I'd probably counter on every single term. So I'd say no problem if you want the 3% subsidy, but we're countering at 510. We want the second month free and we want the home inspection removed. Because then, if I counter on one thing, they're going to have one thing that they have to negotiate. If I counter on three things, they're going to come back and more than likely they're going to say, what do we want to give here and what do we want to take? So I know that if I put three things in front of them that I want, sure, you want the 3% subsidy, we'll give that to you, but we want it written at 510, no home inspection, and we want the second month free, and then see what they come back with. And then I'd also let them know, hey, we've got another offer that's ready to go right now, just to put some pressure on them.
I love that. What do you guys think of that? Oh, he disappeared. He just said he dropped the mic and literally walked away.
Yeah, I like that for sure.
You literally hear and then just Chase. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know if you can.
Oh, sorry. I've been doing things. All right. Let me look here. I've been making moves. Let's see here.
And I don't know if you heard what Thomas said. He pretty much would counter everything in the first offer.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, because that's. Yep, I agree.
And look, I'll tell you, I would agree on that too, right? In this market trend slowing, I think if you can make something work at a number one, that's not a bad offer. Even if they say, and I agree, that's what I was thinking too, is like a 510, give them 3%, but let us net somewhere close to list, right? So whatever the math is. If they counter and say, oh, full home inspection or void, whatever, because they may counter back, and then try to reduce that second to free, or at least one, I think that's a win. I think I can see that being a really it works for everyone, especially your seller in that market trend, right? Or, hey, look, that 480, look, if you give me, because if you look at it, if they say, look, you give me 490, is it worth it there at that point? Because I don't know, 510 and 3%, I don't know the math. 515, that's 495, 490, 495, full home inspection. I mean, that one, it sounds like number one makes more sense to counter. Does everyone agree on that from what I'm seeing and from what you guys are telling me? Number one would make the most sense to make something work. Or should we just continue to market?
I would counter on that one, but I wouldn't go to 510 because that doesn't make it appealing for the buyer. I would say at 505, counter at 505 with the 3% subsidy, and that gives the buyer a little something.
So,
because in other words,
3%.
If you counter at 510, it pretty much wipes away the 3% subsidy.
Well, they probably care about the subsidy. Then they're probably okay paying. What was it? 495, 510. That's 15,000. Where every thousand is 5.
Yep.
What is that? 70. What is that? Whatever that math is, I'm not gonna do it in my head.
It's 15,000.
$75 more, right? No. Anyways, okay. Whatever the math is, and I think. Is it bad to try and do that? And then if that is the case, Arnold, let them be the one that decides that and not us. You know what I mean? Let them see what the counter is. What if you're right. What if they say, well, we can't pre-approve for more than 505? But is it better for them to say it rather than us kind of assume? Because remember, our duty is the sellers, right? And as hey, look, if we do 510, we're going to net close to their offer or their list, the 495. But is it better for us to try and then let them be the one to counter back and not just us assuming? Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but see, this is what I'm looking at. Average days 30. we're already at day 45,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a shiny penny. So what we can do is, so I would, in order to be more aggressive, I would say 505. The seller is willing to honor the 3% subsidy, but at 505, and we'll keep everything else the same, which means you get a free month and $2,000 for the second month. That's not bad.
What are your guys' thoughts on that?
So just remember that they're not like the worst that they can say is no. You're not coming back disrespectfully. It's not like you're coming back and they're like, well, actually we're going to counter at 525, right? Like you're not coming back with something egregious.
Mm-hmm.
And 100% they're going to counter something, right? They're going to they're going to come back. They're not going to give you, at least I would assume, every single thing that we want. They're just not, because they can see that the home's been on the market for a lot longer. But I also know, right, that if they're asking for a 3% subsidy, it's probably because they don't have the cash to close. They need that. And that's probably why they're looking at taking a shot at a home that's been on the market a little bit longer, because they can't compete with homes that are coming onto the market in the first weekend, because they do need more cash. So there's a sense in which they've got a little bit of power because they know that we've been on the market for a little while, but we've got power because we know that they need the cash to close. The difference between the $5,000 between a 505 and a 510 is not going to make a difference. They're still going to counter, I would assume. And I would rather try to get my clients a net as close to that, eliminating that 3% subsidy as possible. And the worst that they say is they come back and they just say no.
Mm-hmm. And that 1,000%, I really well articulated. We may net what we may ratify at exactly what that is, 505, but we don't know until we try to see at that 510, right? It may be a 502, 500 or something. People always play that game. Does that kind of make sense? Because it's a difference, like the difference between what we're going to ratify at versus what we're going to try to do, because they're probably counter. They probably will counter. It'll probably be a 502, 500, which usually happens. Okay, does that make sense for everyone? What everyone think of that? Questions on that one?